start recording. Okay, so welcome to everybody. Given the very unusual things that have been happening, I was just saying it was just Motzei Shabbat that we found out that, or for people in Israel on Sunday morning, that Syria, the Assad regime anyway in Syria had fallen, and that literally in 3 days, really miracles happening. We're extending the northern border into Lebanon, into further into the Golan Heights. And I wanted to start the class with something a little bit different, just to take a few minutes. We've been speaking about the idea that the work that we're doing here, we're starting to try to do, is called Avodas HaMochin, the work of the mind, and that the Rebbe in a Sikha, a Lech Lecha Sikha in 1991, I think it was, he spoke about how this work is meant to expand the borders of Eretz Israel. And he was really talking about in the times of Mashiach that there are lands on the east side of the Jordan River that will become part of Eretz Israel. So once we've conquered the 7 nations, we then go and conquer the 3 other nations, which is the nations that correspond to Chochmah, Bina, and Das. And this is just a feeling that I have, that I'd like us to start with a prayer, just a few minutes. And the prayer is, however, I'm not going to, direct the prayer. I'm going to give you a few minutes just to close your eyes and to think about it. But just to think, to imagine, to pray that we can now have full sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. Now, I know those are still it's part of the 7 Canaanite nations in a sense. It's part of just conquering Eretz Israel, the 7 nations. We're not yet going over the border, but I feel like this is the next step, it's that we take sovereignty, full sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. So I'm just asking you all to close your eyes, and we'll take just a couple minutes and see it, imagine it, pray for it. Okay, thank you. You can continue the prayers later. Do it, as often as you can. We need to expand ourselves. Elkele, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so, it says that the complete turnover of our enemies is only going to happen with the increased revelation of Elokus, right? So whatever accomplishments we make, until that happens, it's not going to be complete, right? Because for them to understand MS, I guess.
For us to understand MS.
Yes, definitely. Well,
our
okay.
work. You know, this is our work, is to bring more of this light into the world. Okay, so, you know, we've gotten up to paragraph 10 of chapter 1. And for last week and this week, I was requesting that people do a mind map. Because we need to solidify our understanding of this first half of the chapter in order to create this foundation to build the second half, which becomes a little bit more complex. And so I want to share, people have been sharing them. It's really beautiful to see. People have been sharing their mind maps on the WhatsApp group. Last week, I shared 2 mind maps. And this week, I'd like to share, you know, a few more mind maps that people have been doing. I'm assuming because you've shared it on the WhatsApp group that you're okay with me sharing it on the video. I'm not necessarily going into a lot of detail about, you know, how it's working, but I just want to give people an idea. They're different styles, and it's quite lovely to see these different styles. So let me see what's coming up. Oh, those are... So just bear with me for a minute. I have to just bring it up. So the first one that I'm going to share is last week we spoke about this book. What's it called again? Something about Einstein. Who can tell me?
Moonwalking.
Moonwalking with Einstein. Okay, and the suggestion was, I'm not familiar with the book, but the suggestion was that you create a mind map in the form of a house, so that you go into one room and there's Chochmah, everything you know about Chochmah, and into another room there's everything you know about Bina. And this is a mind map that was created. I actually don't know the name of the woman, because the name that comes up is not, it's not clear what her name is. If anybody knows, you can tell me. But she did this, she took this idea and created what Mila commented looks a bit like 770. So here on the right, she did everything to do with Chochmah. All these different, you know, rooms or levels of Chochmah. And then in the middle, somebody just mute themselves because I hear there's sounds in the background. Here in the middle is everything that she knows about Das. And then on the left is everything that we've learned about Bina. And on the bottom, she put the foundation of the building is Shema Yisrael. The goal is to know Hashem, that Hashem is one. And here we're building this building of Chochmah, Bina, and Das. So beautiful idea how to remember. Okay. So that was the one drawing. Okay, then let's see here. This is, okay, I know who this is. This is Basi Morris. This was part of what Basi, this is the second part of, there were 2 pages. So I'm just going to share this page. Here, Basi drew the Yud of Chochmah. And I love that, Basi, I have to say, I love that you're writing in Hebrew, which is really great. And then each paragraph is done in a box. So that's paragraph 6 over there. Then down here is paragraph 7 with all the details, and paragraph 8. And to the side are secondary details. So that's another way. This is how Basi has done her mind map. Okay. I'm just doing this really to show different styles. and how we all have different ways of thinking, and there's no one right or wrong way. It's just what works for you. And actually, the most important thing is just to do it, because I'm sure I'll ask now, like just the process of doing it. So this is Yoni. So as you can see, Yoni, is an artist. So she's done something that is more figurative. That's including images. So here you have this heart, and up here is the Tohom and the Koach HaMaskil, and some details about that. And then coming down is the eye of Chochmah, the seeing of Chochmah, and all the details here about Chochmah. And then further down is Bina, and coming then to Das, and various details. And here, trying to integrate mind and heart. And what's interesting is that Yoni wrote on the WhatsApp group that this helped to clarify for her Chochmah and Bina, but it also clarified for her that she feels she doesn't understand the role of Das. And my answer to her privately was to say, that's the importance I find of this process, is that it clarifies for you what you understand, but perhaps more importantly, it clarifies for you what you don't understand, like what's not clear. And part of the reason why at this point Das is not clear is because he needs to give us more information about Das. And next week, he's going to do that. And when he gives us more information about Das, we will be able to have clarity about how Das works with Chochmah and Bina. So that question is also about the we talked about how when you go deeper and you do the Yigiyah, that the water becomes more purified. So that's also purified from mistakes. So then when you're doing this work, you think, oh, I know Chochmah Bina Das. And then you go and do the work and you realize, wait a minute, I don't understand something here. And that's part of the clarification and process. Okay, now the last one is from Nechama. Let's see what Nechama has worked it out. Okay. So this is Nechama. It's the beginning of her process, where she's saying, listen, Shema Yisrael, Hashem is one, Ein Od Milvado, and coming down into Bina. So this is mainly the first paragraph, and then the second paragraph, Chochmah, Bina, and Das, the three parts of the brain. So she's also doing something where there's some visuals and some writing, and just organizing it so that she can see it in one glance. Okay. So I want to just get some feedback from the people who have done this process. How did it help you? What was the experience for you? You can say it didn't help you. I don't want to be pushing that it helped you. And I think that it does. But just to give some feedback on this process of creating a mind map, some kind of visual representation of what we've learned up until now. So who is here that can do that? There's Yoni, Gitti, Miriam's traveling. Yoni, would you like to give us some feedback on how that was as a process for you?
So working on the lamed, because I was working on it for art, it just began to feel like the process, like the lamed feels like physically the whole process of from above down, and in a way from below up. And there's something about it like a plant. I don't know what it is. I'm still trying to work it out. Maybe I'll understand as we get along. But there's the bottom of the lamed feels like a seed as well. But I felt like very, very much like I was feeling the process through drawing it.
Oh, wait a minute. I wanted to just share it so that we can see what you're saying. Oh, it's not working. Okay. But in terms of clarifying what you've learned in the, in these 8 chapters, how did it help you to clarify for yourself what you've learned?
So I feel very strong about what Chochmah and Bina are from doing that drawing. Like it's made it very clear for me. And Das not so much. And I also don't know if I'm limiting myself by putting it into a lamed. But the lamed it just speaks to me in terms of this whole thing.
Okay. Good. As that, the lamed, he doesn't mention the lamed, but that's what, that's an additional thing that's kind of like your rochav. It's your associations as well is coming up. And the lamed represents learning, bringing Torah from a high place to a low place. So it fits in, even though it's not coming directly from the text. And that's also part of the Hisbonenus, that, you find other connections in your own internal brain to the teaching of the text. Okay, thanks, Jons. Gitti, would you like to speak to this? Because I showed yours last week. How are you there with us, or Miriam?
I am here. It's interesting for me to see how many artistic people have joined a course on Hisbonenus. It's very beautiful, all the pieces that you made. I recently wrote an article, and as I was writing this article about the visualization work that I'm doing, I said, you know what? You put a page in front of me, and I can't come up with an image. Like I can copy something, but I can't be creative with an image. I said, maybe I think in words. And as I was thinking of how to organize, I realized I do, because I took the keywords and I just made a web from each word with all the things that link to that word, so that I was able to see the sequence as a process of what happened here.
You muted yourself.
Where?
No, you're okay.
Okay. So for me, it was like seeing the key words of the sequence, and like just, I just say the lowest common denominator, like taking all the thing and just seeing it as this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and just seeing how things connect to each other, where they lead to, where they come from, just so I can hold it in my mind, to shrink it, so to speak, and hold it in my mind. But the lamed is very beautiful, because lamed means to teach, it means to learn, and it has that shape of, the length. It has the length and the process. So I'm just very beautiful what you contributed. I'm loving it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so what's interesting now is that when we go to paragraph 10, Reb Hillel himself does a summary. And so let's go over to the actual text, and we'll have a look at the way in which Reb Hillel does a summary for us at this point. Mila, you
Yeah, hi. Yeah, that's beautiful, actually. It was amazing for me to see the creativity part of everybody who did their mind maps. And that's amazing to see how everybody is really reaching out to the resources, the inner resources, to bring out the way they understand these concepts. And the beauty of us actually sharing it is that we can actually learn how the same concept could be visualized and explained through different lenses that we all possess. And yeah, Mama Sheshakah, I did not expect that it's going to be so rich and really give that clarity. It was beautiful to see. Okay, so let's go to the text. And the text is short. It's pretty much the summary. Let me share my screen. It's pretty much the summary of what we have explained up until now. Okay. Just gonna oops, sorry. We have paragraph 10. And I just lost the place where we were. Okay, we are right here. Is it big enough? Oh, no.
You can make it a little bit bigger.
Okay. And the fascinating part is that while you are listening and reading together with me, it would be amazing if at the same time you could envision in you the process. Okay. So while we are listening to this, it would be amazing if each one of you will envision this process, because what we're going to do next is we're gonna create the mind map that will represent this paragraph's process, where he's summarizing the whole shefa, the way it comes down. Okay, let's go. V'hina kol hanal. And here, everything what we discussed above, hu milamala lamata, it's from above to below. To below. Okay, b'chacham shemaskil davar chachma mitzad etzem koach hamaskil. This is the process, how it happens by the chacham, by the wise man, that is processing intellect from the essence of his koach hamaskil. Okay, and at this moment, we don't really know where he's going to take us, but we all know that the true perspective, why he's sharing that, he's actually going to disclose later on in paragraphs, okay, which is he is bringing this process for us to understand that there are two processes of a mashpia and a process of a makapel. This is very important to understand, because now he is laying the foundation. Okay, this is davar chachma mitzad etzem koach hamaskil, right, from the essence of the koach hamaskil. Sheholach b'seder u'v'hadraga, that goes in the seder and in the hadraga, milamala lamata, that comes in the way of up down. How is it comes? Shelamala min ha-seichel, that from above the seichel, nimshach nevias ha-seichel, gets revealed the seichel, the first revelation of the seichel. Okay, now he doesn't tell us what that is, but we know what's lamala min ha-seichel. It's koach hamaskil, right? Shehu harochav the chochma, and where the first nevias ha-seichel is going to take place is in the rochav of chochma. Okay, and it's done al yedei ha-omek, and it's done through the omek of the chochma. And after that, it becomes activated and draw down the orach of the chokhmah. Lahashpia barochav debina, right? To give the flow to the rochav of Bina. And you might ask yourself a question, 1 second, what happened to the omek? Nothing, it's there. But it's not something where the revelation takes place. Okay? Shehu mahus etzema bina. What's rochav of bina? This is the essence of what bina is about. That's where things get revealed in rochav. But how they get revealed is al yedei ha'omek, through the omek. Sheba, that's in it. V'achar kach nimshach orach de bina. And after that is being manifested, the orach of the bina, lahashpil ha'inyan me'od, to bring down the inyan very much, sheyitkarev lekli moichoi, that it will come very, very close to the brain, to the vessel of his brain, or lahasaga tina katan, or to the grasp of a small child. Okay? V'kol hanal, and everything which we discussed above, hu al yedei hadas, it's done through the das. The whole process happens through the das. Why das? Well, if we really delve deeply into the energy of das, das is a connector. Any two entities are being connected through the das. Then you're going to tell me, well, wait a second, what about omek? We thought it was omek, but what part of brain actually activates the omek is das. Okay, this is a very important thing to understand. So das is there all along. Das is there to connect chachma with bina. Das is there to connect chachma with koach hamaskil. Okay, and chush is there, which is shoresh hadas. We're moving a little bit forward. Is there to connect koach hamaskil with the ratzon, right? And das is also there to bring bina and heart, to connect the bina and emotions. Okay, so we see the das in Seder Ishtalshus is like the main force that makes things happen. Okay. Okay, so this is al yedei das shemeorer koach hamaskil, that awakens koach hamaskil lahaskil v'lahasik, right? And that's very important, because if you remember later on, it's going to say he has a ratzon, right, by the mashpia, and through the ratzon he's going to activate his koach hamaskil. It's true, but how is he going to activate it? There is b'derech prat, a little chush there, which is the shorish of the das, and now he's saying that it's the das that activates. Okay, and another keyword here, if we're a little bit attuned, it says v'koach hamaskil lahaskil v'lahasik. He awakens koach hamaskil to lahaskil. We know the keyword here, lahaskil, is to it's a process that happens in chachma. V'lahasik is the process that happens in bina. And he's already here early in the stages, laying the foundations that he's going to say by last 2 paragraphs, I believe, right? That both chachma and bina are rooted in koach hamaskil. Would make more sense, right? Because the right brain, left brain, and they are all rooted, okay, in the middle, right? So if a flow comes in, it's responsible for that. We're not like that, right? Meaning, our brain, the right brain is not on top of the left brain. And that's the beauty of it, right? They say they're laying side by side. It's just the first revelation happens in the right brain, then it happens in the left brain, but it's actually happens simultaneously.
Mila, do you want to stop at this point and let people map that before you go on? Because that's the end of the summary.
Right. Yeah, this is the end of the summary in terms of going up, down, right? So he's basically establishing a process to make us aware of the process of the mashpia, how it happens, okay? And it happens up, down. Yes, so that would be amazing if we could take a few minutes. I would say maybe 2-3 minutes. Just read through it. I'm gonna have it on a screen. up until this point. Okay, and just read through it and just write down the stations that he mentions. You know, create that flow chart so you are aware of it. And you could actually yeah, I guess that would be amazing if we could do that.
Would you mind saying where this is in the English?
Yeah, can you help us, please, Maria, with that? Because I really wouldn't know.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
Page 37 in the English. Page 37. I'm just going to pause the recording while we do this, because I think we'll give you about 5 minutes to do it.
No, we're good.
Okay.
We B'ezrat Hashem gonna go through the down up process, and but it's, you know, truly, you don't need to write a Megillah here in this exercise. It's just reading and stopping and reading and stopping and reading and stopping and just writing the stations. Right? I envision the whole process of writing a mind maps is like writing on like on a train that has stops. Right? So our brain should be differentiating, like, okay, this is just the same story, or no, we actually made a stop to describe something and just need to write the name of that stop. And then, you know, you continue on your journey and then you stop and you write the name of your stop. So this is pretty much what Rabbi Hillel is doing here. He is describing the process of his bonus, but for the Rav Amaka Amashpia. And these are the stops that 1, 2, 3, 4.
So Mila, can I share? I'd like to share what I did, just
Sure.
to clarify, and then you can share if you can stop the sharing,
Yes.
if mine will work. Okay. So, 1 minute. So this is a flow chart that I did. It's not 100% accurate in terms of the way in which he describes it, but this is what I came up with. And I hope that yours was different than this. But so this is the basic flow from above to below without das. So there's the koach hamaskil. There's the oimek of chokhmah, it kind of goes through that, and then the rochav of chokhmah, going to the orech of chokhmah, and through the oimek of bina to the rochav of bina, then the orech of bina, then to the vessel of the brain, the comprehension of a child. So this is just, I don't know if you can, oops. I want to try and show it in one view, but I can't quite do that. So that was the flow chart that I created. So that's one way of showing it. And then Mila, can you show the picture that we created last time? Because I did this the last time we went through it. I think I would do it differently this time. Mila, can you show the picture of the brain that we did last time?
And we were doing that picture. One thing that I really wanted to stay away is the linear. Not that the linear is not important. It's very important, but it's not only the way. It's important just for us to go through like up, down. But at the same time, we wanted to provide the 3-dimension as much as we could. And this is what we felt would be the great representation, because there is an actual mashal, even beyond mashal. This is where this power of these souls are actually manifest. So this is what what we did. And that doesn't take away the process. On the contrary, it's this is the process. Up, down, the linear way helps us to understand all its levels, but then you take away the linear way, right? And you're more focused on, different. Have you ever seen scans of in neuroscience? Scans of the brain, right? It lights in different parts. The electricity goes so fast. And you can actually see in scans that different parts of the brain start lighting up. And and that's what's happening. Meaning there's first a linear way in order to help us to understand the order of things, but then we let go of that linear way, and then we see, the 3D picture.
Okay, so
with me, the Chachma is more visualization, which is a certain speed of a wavelength. And then going into Bina, it goes into hearing, which is the Shema, and it goes into a whole different wavelength. And our ability to perceive is one more with sight and one with hearing. So as it goes from Chachma to Bina, it becomes more Gashmius.
Tippy, that's correct. I'd be interested to see your image, because, the way we're talking about it now, Mila and I created these images the first time we went through this chapter. I think we would create them differently now, maybe incorporating that kind of subtlety more into a visual representation. But, this is the process. We're constantly...
I see waves. I see as things go from nothingness into somethingness. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, in these mind maps or flow charts that we create, it's just really to bring it closer to the vessel of our mind. And then as you go deeper, so then you see it more and more in the Hitbonenus process in 3 dimensions, in 4 dimensions, you begin to turn it around in your mind. But right here, we're working with 2 dimensions, and we're seeing different ways to do that. The main thing is really to bring these ideas and concepts closer to our mind. And then you come up with things like you're saying now, which is like, yeah, I see the energy of Chochmah as being different to the energy of Bina, and it's the sight versus the hearing and all of these things. Okay, so I think we can continue, Mila, with the rest, going on to the rest of the paragraph. You muted.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay, great. So the rest of the paragraph actually starts from here. Aval betalmud, but by the Talmud. Yeah, just 1 second.
So what we've learned up until now was the process of the Chacham. And now he's going to show us that the process of the Talmud, of the student, is completely the opposite.
Yes, so the process of the Talmud, and here's the key word, that is Shomea HaSechel Miriboy, right? He hears the concept from his Rebbe. Okay, here's the difference, right? Let's go up and see how he introduces the process, right? Hamaskil davar chachma mitzat atzem koach hamaskil shaloi. You see the difference? The mashpia is revealing the process through himself, from himself. Okay. Now with the makabel is something different. He says, aval betalmid shomea sechel mirabo. He hears it from something that's outside of him. Right? And this is the key differences here. It's something when we are creating something from within ourselves versus something that we hear from outside. Okay? So seemingly that the concept that the Rebbe is talking about is outside of us, because that's the perception we have, right? We're listening to, like right now, whatever else we are learning, right? We are learning something that's outside of us. We are reading it, right? We are reading, and the text is outside of our eyes. It's not something coming from within. And let's see what the process is going to look like, right? He hears it only the external aspect of that seichel, which is what? Shehu oisiyos shebazvara de bina. And these are the letters of the explanation of the bina. Okay, so he is all the way on the outside. Where is it? He is, let's take a guess. From everything what we're learning, where Talmud begins. Huh?
You can write in the chat if you don't want to say.
Yeah, where Talmud begins. Yeah, on which of the levels in Seder Ishtalshalis the Talmud begins? Like we said that, the Rav begins. No, the Rav begins with a command to Koach HaMaskil, right? So he begins with his Koach HaMaskil, right? And he just makes it kitzer. He's like something from before the Seichel comes into Seichel. So we all know that it's, before the Seichel, it comes into the Seichel. Beautiful. So that's by the Rav. Where's the Talmud begins? He's on the outside. Yes, I see somebody responded that. He starts with bittul, fine. But where in Seder Ishtalshalis? So for now, let's skim through. We have Chachma, Bina, and Das, right? Das is somewhere in between. So we have Das, we have Chachma and Bina. Where would it be?
Bina.
Bina where? He starts with Omek Bina.
Rochav.
Or Orech of Bina. Exactly. He starts with Orech of Bina. He doesn't have a Bina. He doesn't understand. So he's just learning. Beginning the process is only in Orech of Bina. That's great. Okay, so let's see what happens. These are the letters of the explanation of the Bina. But right, this is the key word again. He's packaging, Rabbi Hillel is tremendous amount of keywords here. Is that the minute he wants to understand, okay, Davar al-Buria, to understand this very well, what does he do? He exerts himself a lot. He's able to come into the omek of this haskala. Keyword, haskala. He jumps through where? All the way to the koach hamaskil. What's omek of haskala? Haskala is the key word of chachma. He's talking about he is able to reach into the omek of chachma. What a fast track he's presenting here, right? He's beginning on the outside. This guy just reading letters. That's what we're doing right now, right? We are reading the letters and we're like trying to make sense. And then we want to understand it very well. And then we exert ourselves in the letters that we are being presented. And what happens next? Before you know it, you activated your koach hamaskil. Okay. And it's just very zooming fast, right? He doesn't give us this whole lengthy explanation yet. He's giving us a very fast track that happens zooming fast into this process. Whoa, he's able to reach the koach, the omek of chokhmah, the way it is included in koach hamaskil. I don't even know what that means. Okay, meaning not the way it's being revealed, but omek of chokhmah, the way it's by koach hamaskil. To the point that from it, he's able to conceptualize new concepts. And to understand new hasagis, new understanding into the same concept. Okay, Alkain, right? Okay, I think it's Alkain or Imkain. I'm not sure.
It cannot be the imkain because it's an iron.
Right. V'alkain. Okay.
Lavav, it's law. I don't know. Lavav.
Lavav, exactly. That's so interesting. I've never noticed that. Valkain, Lavav, she'etzlo, haseder hu milamata lamala. Right? The seder by him, it's from below to above. K'moshe Yisbar, how we will explain, Vazeu, hafresh echad b'neim, and this is one difference between them. Okay, the difference number one is the seder, is the order of things. Okay, one is above to below, and the other one below to above. Okay, let's go weiter. V'od yesh hafresh sheni b'neim, and then there's a second difference between them. Okay, shaharav hamaskil mitzad atzmoi, right? That by the Rav, the Mashpia, that's able to conceptualize the Seichel from within himself, nimshach hakol al yidei amakas hadas. Okay? By him, everything happens through amakas hadas. Okay? Aval betalmid, but the student, hamaskil, chadoshis mimena, but the maskil, the one who that's conceptualizes the new insight from it, sheshama mirabah, right? That he hears from his Rebbe. He is awakening by himself a new power. This is the power of the iyud. So what he's saying is that not only the process is different, but also the tool that's being used by both of them is different. The Rav uses the tool das. Why? Why is he using the tool das? Because this is the correct tool to use, right? This is the tool to use. Das is kava emtsoi, is the middle line that makes things happen. So he has no problem using all of his powers. That's why he's using das. Now, by us, don't have das fully intact. And how do we know that? Very simply, we're just going to go back into the das, and we're going to ask ourselves a question: are we on that? Do we have access to these powers? And most of us will say, not necessarily. I'm not there. Okay, amazing. So I'm not there. What does this mean? I need to get depressed? No. It says HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo doche b'shtei yadayim, right? Hashem doesn't push us away with two hands, right? So one, we don't have that tool, but Hashem gave us a different tool that even in our circumstances, even we don't have das and we don't have, chokhmah, and we don't have access to our koach hamaskil yet, and all these, unfortunate things that, we might find ourselves. However, we have koach. We have koach chadash, right? But look over here. In order for him to hamaskil chadashes mimena, you see, he's already hinted to us that this koach ha'iyud is going to bring new insight to him, right? He's bringing new insight, sheshama mirabo, that from what he heard from his Rebbe, he has to awaken in him koach chadash. He has to awaken him a new power, which is what? Which is koach ha'iyud, right? So by Mashpia, by Mekabel, he's not going into this whole order. We might think logically, oh, mashpia is up, down, and he stops by every single stop. The makabel is something different, but he's not. He's taking a shortcut, a zooming, very weird way. They're saying like, you know what? I'm not going to go into this whole lengthy explanation because I already did. If you're smart enough, just go back. Says, no, I want to bring them, I want to make them a yichud. A yichud is that, what do you need? You're looking from outside, you're looking at the letters, and he says the formula, meyageya es atzma harbe. He exerts himself a lot. Yachal lahagya, he's able to reach the omek of chachma, the way it is in koach hamaskil. And from there, you have it all, okay? And what is this power that allows him to get to this place? Where's that letter? Where's that shortcut? And that the iyun. Okay, this is the iyun. The iyun is accessible to all of us. Iyun is bina of bina. Okay, and that's where this is a turning point in this whole chapter, where he'll explain at length and very, very detailed as to how is this power, has the power, where is it rooted, that it has such a power to take people who don't have seichel, they don't have chachma, they don't have bina, they don't have anything, we don't have access to anything, right? We kind of like just b'kabbalas all, right? We are the heels of the generations, b'kabbalas all, we're doing all this Torah mitzvahs, and yet has the power to bring us into this beautiful inside world that every single one of us actually shares. It's inside of us, it's not somewhere outside. Okay, so where is this? And this is our iyun. So we're done reading the text. Any questions up until now? Okay, are you okay with posting a photo of the exact paragraph that you are reading? I'm searching and searching. Maybe I'm not supposed to follow to sitting Shiva. Oh, Sartova best. Baruch Dan Hamas. Yeah. Sartova is sitting Shiva. So. Our mother. And this is where we at.
No, when I was reading this paragraph, there was something that struck me. He says, he's describing the situation from the perspective of the student. And he says the student hears the teaching from their Rav, and at first he only hears the external meaning of the letters. He really just understands the external letters, which is the Bina. And then it says, but we see that when somebody really wants to learn, to understand it more clearly, and meyagia, and he puts in a lot of effort, then he will come eventually to the omek of the chokhmah. And what struck me there was that he says that we need to have two things. One is the ratzon, the desire to want to know, to understand this. And the second thing is putting in a lot of effort. And that's really what I understand. Like that's what will bring us to the iyun process, is the desire and the effort together. You could ask the question, what makes a person have desire? But Beseder, here we are. It seems like we have some desire to understand. The other thing is we're also putting in the effort. And I think, the mind maps that people have done is part of that process of putting in the effort. And through doing the mind maps, I hope that you got a taste of of that higiyah, of that effort. And, then you start tapping into deeper understandings, or, having new questions, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I also would definitely suggest trying different modalities when you're creating a mind map. Yeah, meaning like you could try that of the house, you know, with different rooms represent different concept. You could also try to do it in a linear way. You could try to do it, you know, with different arrows all around, like, you know, more neurographic way. They call it, I forgot what the name for that. It's not flow chart, it's mind map, right? Mind map where the main concept is in the middle and all, you know, spreading out. What you're allowing to do is that the reason why you chose the first one, that was the closest to you, that your brain more or less thinks in these terms, whichever one you use. Now, in a way, I don't want to use the word forcing, but elaborating other ways of expressing the same idea, okay, will allow you to exercise different parts of your brain, although it may not be so natural to you. Okay, so you might think like, oh my gosh, this is too left brain, this is too right brain. Whatever brain is, middle brain, we need all brain, right? We wanna really take a holistic approach on this, because all parts of brains are very important. We cannot say like, oh, I don't want to be left brain, I want to be right brain. Oh, I don't want to be right brain, I want to be left brain. It doesn't matter. We need to really, so whatever that naturally comes your way, amazing. Let me try another way. So Baruch Hashem, we have like around 7 or 8 representations of the same concept, which is beautiful. You know what? Try it out. Try out. Oh, let me do like Nechama. Let me do like Yoni. Let me do like El Kaleya. She just recently shared, right? Let me do like Gitti, and see how would it feel like if you'll do it differently. Okay. And it's a beautifully enriching experience for you to actually see from another perspective, and that will provide flexibility, because the less rigid we are in the way we think, the more successful we get into actually getting to the essence, because it's all fluid.
I think it would be important for them to share what system they used in terms of how they brought their ideas down, because as you're reading it, it's not necessarily clear what system they used.
So try to figure out.
That's a lot of figuring out. Besides, we're trying to get the ideas and trying to understand the system. It's a lot of figuring out.
So maybe you could reach out to, let's say you like Yoni's, right? You could say, Yoni, can you give me more details? What was the thought process behind? Right? And that's
what you're thinking now. Maybe Yoni can tell us now.
Sippy, you saw Yoni's, right? You saw all of the different ones. We shared them. Were you on the call then?
Sure. Yeah, but I did not see. They did not share their system. Do you remember it came up last time where we need to be taught systems of memorizing and systems of bringing ideas down? This is not the natural way. People this is not taught in schools.
How it's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, what you're bringing out is actually you touching on a nerve, right? In a way, we learn so much in school, and yet we're not taught strategies. You know, we taught so much information, and we are expected to use whatever strategies are there. But like, let's say even just math equations, they are like over at least 20 different strategies and used in different worlds. Obviously, we choose what works for us. When it comes to math equations, who cares what's the processes, as long as you get to the right answer. But you see, when we talking about Chassidus, the process is important. Why? Because the process is what gets you to the right answer, because there's no one right answer. It's a very it's fluid. It's not concrete. Our brain, our nefesh habahamis, probably relates more to math equations than to Chassidus. Why? Because it's something concrete. 2 + 2 = 4. regardless. That's just what it is. When we're talking about Chassidus, it's a very abstract concept, and Nefesh Bahamis usually will have difficulty in relating to abstract concept. It will be like, okay, screw you, who cares? As long as I know how to put food on my table, okay? Because it's a very concrete operational, and it's very into yesh, into something that exists. We are trying to understand something that doesn't exist and exist at the same time, right? So this is like understanding a paradox. And Nefesh Bahamis will have difficulty with it, right? We'll be asking questions, how it'll help you in your life, right? And all kinds of different things that it has difficulty understanding. Well, the answer to this is that you'll find God in your life. That's the answer. Yeah, we're not just learning philosophy and just trying to complicate our life, but Chassidus is finding Hashem in your life through the process which is called Hisbonenus. So what it allows is that it's called intellectual empathy, right? What do you mean intellectual empathy? That I'm able to understand through a thought process of somebody else. It may not necessarily make sense to me, but at least I'll have a glimpse of understanding how the other person is thinking. Okay, how does it help me? It helped me not to be so rigid in my way of thinking. Okay, so when I allow another process to enter, I may not like it. I might like, oh, well, forget about it. Did you ever see like different math strategies? Some are easier, some speak more to us, some speak the other way, and whatever works for everybody. But I think it would be a good idea if you, Tippy, you like somebody's diagrams, reach out to them, even in a group. I think that would be amazing, because if you have this question, probably others also have that question. And you could ask, hey, which strategy you use? That actually could trigger the orech for whoever wrote, right? Because now they have to use words to express the idea. You see, we're getting into a very interesting process here, right? So they would have to go deeper into themselves and try to enclose the process in words and do that. I have to tell you that when I was creating a website for our school, I had this amazing vision, okay? But I changed 3 computer programmers, okay, 3 graphic designers, while in the process of creating. I paid a lot of money for them. Why? Is because I had to go through an exceptionally painful process. Of what? That you have to take your idea, your vision, and you have to put it in words. Okay. And then they have to create what you see in your brain. Okay. And sometimes they don't get it. And then you have to go back and forth, which is in the process, which is called revisions. Okay. Where you have to tell them, oh, this is, not the purple that I meant a different purple. Oh, this is not the color what I meant, and I don't like this, and I want this, and so on and so forth. So the more precise we get in the descriptive process, the easier it becomes that communication. Now, this is what ends up happening right here. And that's how we build our Orach of Bina. What ended up happening is that I had to understand my concept, what I wanted to see in a website, much, much deeper, in order so I could actually express it to somebody else in words. And believe it or not, you know how many revisions we had back and forth? 101 revisions. Okay. Now, the guy who survived through all those comments was the one who got the final paycheck, right? Because he had to awaken in himself his own bittul of working with such a picky client, okay, that, but he put up with it. That was the key, okay? So this is, what we are awakening. How does that apply to right here, right now, is that we're learning this process of Hashem expressing himself through the words of Chassidus, and this is what the Rebbeim do. They actually package Hashem in a mimer, And we are working backwards into really getting this and experiencing that. Okay, that's why Chassidus is not a philosophy. So,
Look, I have a quick question for you, Tzipi. Have you tried to do the mind map? Tzipi?
I have been doing it in my mind. I did not sit down and do it in just what I have right now. It would take me many, many hours, I presume, and I have not sit down to do that. No.
So my suggestion is that before you ask anybody, that you try and just put pen to paper. And it doesn't, maybe it will take you many hours or maybe it won't. Once you put pen to paper, things really change. That there's a connection between the mind and the hand and the pen that really changes things. Now, once you start to do your mind map, however that's coming out for you, and once you're either struggling with it or flowing with it, then whatever question you ask of somebody else will be much clearer to you. If you were to ask the question now, I think, you might get, I mean, maybe it would help you. But I think once you're in the process, then everything makes so much more sense. There is one thing, you shared a file. Okay.
no, I shared for Saratova Best. She asked which paragraph are we doing, so if you could send a picture. Saratova, I shared on a chat, on a group chat, the photo.
I want to show you, like, I just looked up now, the idea of a mind map. And this is like a basic, this is just a website where this is a basic version of a mind map that I learned many years ago, not at school, where you put the main topic in the middle and then you have things going out. And from there you have things going out. This is another, if you're looking for a basic way to do a mind map, this is a mind map that, maybe you would have Shem Echad is in the middle, and then you have Chochmah over there, and the things related to Chochmah, and then Bina over there, and things related to Bina and Das, etc., etc. There are many versions of what you could do, but literally, you just need to do it. You just need to sit down and start working about it. And it's very different than what's in your head. And I'm sure the people who have done it will attest to that. Okay.
So would you say that it's maybe somewhat like an improvisation? For me, I didn't get very far, but I just sat down, I saw what came out. I don't think I could have done it with a preconceived quote unquote system. Then I would have been stuck in my
You
head.
did, Nechama, I loved yours. It was this cutouts and paste. I loved it. This was like a scrapbook version of this.
But I couldn't, I wouldn't be able to do the whole thing like that. That was I feel like there was a lot of frustration between wanting to be more artistic than I am. I mean, I had to use color, but I'm not an artist at all. I didn't feel like I had the tools to do it the way I would have liked to do it.
So
but maybe that doesn't matter.
Look, here's the thing. I think that because we have some artists in the group who have done, some beautiful work. There's this emphasis or this idea that you have to be an artist. Not at all. It just so happens that people who are artists, that's what comes out for them. Now, for the rest of us, first of all, there's no pressure at all. It doesn't have to look beautiful. That's their mind. I don't have that mind. I can appreciate their mind. But what will come out for me is very different. And yeah.
But what I'm saying, I don't think it was a matter of comparing. I wanted to be more expressive with color. Like someone asked the question about, expressing chachma in music and art rather than just in letters. And that was, I thought that was this is a great question. It's really beautiful. And I don't know, I felt if I just was using like quotes from the text, and for me, that would be dry.
Look, it's a process. And as you enter into the process, this is what you're describing. So in the beginning, you're trying it this way. And it's like any creative process, and I don't mean artistic process, that as you enter into it, so you discover what it is, and it can change. And, it's just a process. Maybe this is a definition of Yagia. You enter into a process, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're going on a journey, and now you're on the journey.
Yeah, and Yagia is constantly cares with frustration, because our frustration is when we reach our limits. Okay, you cannot do Yagia without frustration. Yagia is like, okay, I'm doing my Yagia, and at one point it's just not happening. This dissatisfaction with your current state of understanding, doesn't matter what that is. It's like, okay, I have to get to the bottom of it. It's the drive. Remember the ratzon. Remember the key word there. Rotze lahavin. He wants to understand. If a person doesn't want to understand, okay, screw you. I go do something else. I don't need to do this. I don't want it. It's like the key factor in the kid in the school, if he wants to be this, period. Okay. There's a whole many different tricks. As teachers, we engage kids more, and we create the desire for them. Okay. We find the secondary motives, but there's always this curiosity. I want to know. This is what kids come naturally with into this world. We all have it. Okay. And this is, this is something we naturally engage in. And for us, the frustration, we should not be afraid of frustration. Frustration is a push to grow a kalim. Frustration is that this butterfly wants to come out of her shell. She's being born, okay, and she's exceptionally frustrated down there. Okay, it's like, okay, it's too tight here. I want to get out of here. Okay, and that process, that's what the birth is. The baby is extremely frustrated in the mother's womb. Then it needs to come out. What a process of the birth, right? So and it's frustrating for the mother. And no matter what hypnobirthing you're going to do, there's always, you reach that transition where you're like, okay, the baby needs to come out. Like, no hypnobirthing, yes, hypnobirthing, like just out. Okay, nobody wants to stay in a birth process forever. I've never met a normal woman who was like, oh, I loved my birth. I want my whole life is going to be a birthing experience. No. You go through the birth, b'shalom, but then the baby's out. That's it. That's the key, the key here. And the same thing is, with us, the frustration is there. Indicators that we're doing a yigia. Okay. And that should be welcomed. It's like, okay, amazing. I have frustration. That's great.
Mila, I'm so glad you're saying this because it's so true. And there are times where, the frustration is so great that you just want to give up. And you think that there's no way forward. And it's very uncomfortable. But it is a necessary part of the process. And I wonder if we also haven't been educated to embrace frustration. I think that people who are sports people, they understand that. They understand that to build a muscle, you have to break the muscle. But you have to be careful not to break it too much, so that it can repair stronger. But we understand that with physical things, that we have to put in effort, that it gets frustrating, and then you break on through to the other side. And that's an ongoing process.
Right. It's interesting that you're saying that, but it's actually true, because in physical world, people are not so nice. I'm talking about the trainers are not nice. They constantly yell and scream at the trainees. This is a known thing, you know, and they literally create that pressure and they push them beyond beyond what they can actually perform. And this is what the good trainer is there for. And I was watching this documentary. I think, what's her name? This gymnast, Simon, Simone Biles. She reveals the level of frustration that all the gymnasts have to go through in order to really move to the next level and to be in competitions and all that. Now, we're not into competitions, but like that, really, what, you know, pushing yourself beyond your limits, that you will take this extra stretch, an extra step, a little bit beyond, and the constant demand of going out of your limits. I guess, and we also have to be basimcha, right? Don't forget about that, right? this aspect of this aspect of not losing the joy of the process. It's a fine balance, right? On one hand, there's a frustration, and on the other hand, you're supposed to be enjoying the process, right? Otherwise, who is going to do that again?
Can I share what you were saying, related to what you were saying? Excuse me. So I would say, like, as an advice, when you sign up for something, it puts you in a position where you're going to have to be pushed to frustration. And I already shared, I had this experience where I had to prepare a class and I didn't have time, and I knew I had to produce something very good and meaningful. And I was so frustrated because why did I sign up for this? I know I'm so busy and I don't have time. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking I have to be tomorrow. I have barely any time left to do this, and I'm so late. It's so late and I'm so tired. And nevertheless, because I signed up for it, I had to push myself. And through the frustration, and then I came up with such a treasure I never would have come up with otherwise. So I think that's a little bit of a device. Can you sign up for this course? And now when you push us, do something, it's hard for us, but we push and we do, and that's how we gain the growth and the depth.
Yes, beautiful. But I think that's, I actually heard our teacher say that, and I saw a few places of indication, is that we all go through frustration in our life. Okay, I remember Masud mentioning this, is that if you go through the frustration of understanding the concept, Hashem will spare you from frustrations from other means that a person needs to do in life. Does that make sense? It's like everybody has a share of frustration, okay, that's given, that's predestined for this person, okay? So now you choose what kind of frustration you'll be using. Okay? It is going to be the frustration of you trying to reach beyond yourself in understanding a concept, in understanding Chassidus, and you're breaking your mind, okay? And you yaitze it, that's it. It's like how we rectify kafakela. You know, kafakela is a punishment in Gehinnom, that they throw the neshama from one part of the world into another part of the world, okay? And that's through learning Gemara, right? That you move from one idea to the next idea, from one idea to the next idea. So you pretty much could do a tikkun that was destined for this particular neshama through study of Torah, through properly studying of Torah, and you know, you could be pada b'shalom, meaning you could internally do all the work and you don't need to suffer externally. So I guess, you know, we have that choice. You know,
You're creating some motivation here, Mila. Mila, at this point, we could, you know, we could either
the
end
worksheets.
We can either end at the time that we're supposed to end. We always say that it's an hour and a half. Or we could go to breakout rooms. We didn't create the worksheet. I know that we had it somewhere on the Canva, the two lists, up, down, and down, up. But we didn't.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Or we could just go to breakout rooms and have people to do what Sippy suggested, which is just share your experience of creating a mind map, but not everybody has done it. So let's see, there's Getty and Yoni and Nechama have done it. Batya, Ilana, did you do a mind map? You didn't share it with us though.
Yeah, I shared it.
Oh, you
I
did?
shared it. Yeah, it's the one with the house that looks like
Oh,
7.
that's you. Okay, that's I was asking earlier. Were you on the call when I shared it?
Yeah, but I couldn't figure out how to do the speaking thing.
Oh, okay. So now you figured that out. But you turned off your video at the same time. Okay, so now you're muted. You have to separate. Now you're muted, but we can see you. So, okay. Okay, so that was you. The house was you. So that was Ilana. Okay, so we have 1, 2, not 1 or 2, not 5 people on the call who have done it. Oh, and Alkalea, you've also, okay. So maybe, Mila, if you don't find that, we can just put people in breakout rooms.
I found it. I'm sharing it now. Okay. Page 27.
What about ending at 6:30 like usual?
What is that?
Alkalea.
Oh.
Alkalea. You're happy to be ending at 6:30, Alkalea?
Yeah, Mashuka. Okay.
Can you share it on the Zoom?
I did.
Mila?
It's right here. It's
No, I
it's
think
oh,
actually
you mean to share it?
on the
Share it. Oh, okay, great. I got it.
share it on the screen so we can see what it.
Yeah, so this is the process. The teacher, up, down, and the student.
Oh, but that's filled out. You filled it out already.
Yeah, we
Should be a
did.
previous one where it's not filled out. Okay.
I don't think we have not filled out. This is the one that we have.
We filled it out together. Okay, so we don't have an
Right.
empty. But the idea is to do two of these. I don't know what you call them, one on each side, and to do the teacher's process from up to down and the student's process from down to up, and just name all the
Why doesn't she do
different parts. So you get that? But we filled it out for you. We don't want you to.
gonna make a poll for money.
All right. So Mila, do you want to put breakout room? So
Yes.
breakout room, you can either do this process or you can just share with each other, if it's helpful, the process of doing the mind.
accept it. Why not going?
So we're gonna create 5 rooms, and yeah, that means 2 in each room.
Conversation. Just to end this conversation, because we are out of time. I hope that you guys had good breakout room experiences. But the last thing that we wanted to say, and Mila, you can chime in, is that later in Shara Yichud, the Mitzvah Rebbe actually explains this process of what it is that we're doing with this mind map. And we see that Reb Hillel has also done it with chapter 10, or with these first 10 chapters. So one of the ways of learning is that you have to start with the klal, meaning you have to start with the big picture. And that's why in the first paragraph, he gave us a big picture view of, okay, now we're going to learn about, why are we learning Hitbonenut? And this is to do with Shema, and it's to do with knowing Hashem. That's like a big picture view. And then for 8 paragraphs, he went into pratim, into details. And he went into the details of Chochmah, Bina, and Das. And then he went into the details of details, like even more details. And now we pull back and we get a big picture view. He gives us a summary before he goes again into more details. And so this is the process. Big picture, klal, details, pratim. Then you put the pratim back into the big picture. Like now you have a different big picture. Now you go back into the pratim. And this is literally how the mind expands and, keeps working. So it goes prat, klal. And this is the mind map process. It's the process of seeing the big picture. Because
that's actually how our eyes work as well, right? Our eyes, when we enter a very busy room, we first see, and then we'll zoom in to one detail in the room, whether it's going to be a couch or a man, and then we zoom out, we zoom in, zoom out. It's a constantly. If we'll look at our eyes inside, it constantly opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing, because this is a natural process of it. And in general, like in Shari Yichud, let's take a deep breath, is that we are learning about how to do his bonus. We did not learn what to do, what to be misboinen on yet. That's going to be from chapter 10 and on. So if you thought of quitting this class, by the time we're going to finish our first class, well, you're just going to learn one of the things that we're going to be learning all 10 chapters. And this is what the goal of all 10 chapters is, to prepare us for the Hisbonenus.
But at the same time,
we're doing Hisbonenus
on the process of Hisbonenus.
Exactly. And we're going to be learning different things. Like first chapter, we're learning the process from down up, pretty much. Right? And how we're activating the Bina Liba. The second chapter is going to be talking about how we're going to be bringing it all down into Tvuna, right? Which is the midas of Bina. And when the idea actually get registered and becomes part of the body, part of the brain. Then the chapter 3, good luck for that chapter. It's a long chapter giving us all kinds of mashalim between 2 types of how Hashem reveals himself, right? Which is Etzem v'Ispashtus and then Helem v'Gilui. Right? It's a whole
Mila,
whole year.
We should stop you there. We just
right.
Holding our brains.
And then the chapter 4 is talking about, Klal Uprat. Chapter 5 is going to be talking about feeling bitterness and happiness simultaneously, and all kinds of things. So every single chapter is actually prepares us for the Hisbonenus. Because why? Because when we actually going to be doing Hisbonenus, we're going to be activating these things in us. So we should know what is that we're activating, right? So it's beautiful to see that, the students in this class, participants, you call it, right? You really started the process. Each one shares their thing, their vision, and really it has to be continued. Please continue. And I guess the assignment, the homework would be for this week is to do the mind map. And if you could just share whichever way you understood the process, up, down, and down, up. Would be great if we could do the same way how we did with other concepts. And thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
See
you.
guys next week.
Thank you, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Toda.
Thanks.